the Renault Triber, which is essentially the extended version of the Quid, made into a budget 7-seater vehicle. But this one is the Prestige model in a 3-model range. This is the top one. So Prestige gives you some extra features. You get things like daytime running lights, you get extra daytime running lights down there, you get the little skid plate effect at the front, you get those sort of features, making it, of course, the Prestige model. I'm going to concentrate quite a lot in this video on telling you the differences between the various versions. Prestige gives you 15-inch mag wheels, for example, as opposed to 14 inches on the other models. You also get, of course, on all of them, the cladding, which is typical of crossover type vehicles. They want them to look like. Prestige also gives you indicators on the outside mirrors, whereas the other models do not give you that. So keep that in mind. And only the top 2 models give you the roof rails. So these are very many of the features that differ between the various models you get and the various ones you do get. You come along, of course, you see over here the extended window in the C-pillar over here to again allow for those extra 2 seats in the back. Pop open the rear end over here, and as I like to show you the different configurations you can have for the seats. I've got it with one of the rear seats up, one down. You can see obviously when you've got both of those in use, essentially you have no rear boot space whatsoever, but that's typical of any of these vehicles. You can also flip the seat up as well, one or both of them, and put them right out the way. You have to move the middle one first, but you can flip it right out of the way if you want to create more load space, less passenger space. We'll show you exactly what it's like in the rear just now. But as I say, in this configuration, really minimal boot space, but that's no different to any other vehicle of this type. Prestige also gives you a reverse camera, a nice feature on any vehicle, and especially as they get longer, it becomes more and more important. So a good feature over there. And of course, you have got park distance control beepers there as well. And again, the skid plate effect down below the rear bumper. All 3 models of the Triber are powered by the same 1-litre 3-cylinder petrol engine, giving you 52 kilowatts and 96 newton meters of torque. So no, it doesn't exactly sound like a ball of fire on the road, does it? But again, that's not what this car is intended for. Very much not the case. This is intended for carrying extra passengers at a real budget end of the market, and it certainly fills that role very well. We'll have a look at exactly what it's like inside. We're going to see it on the road as well. All those features you're going to see, and I'm also going to show you what it's like I like to show you, getting into those rearmost seats in particular. In the back seat, or the middle row, I suppose I should call it, that's not bad legroom for a middle row. And you can see the driver's seat is set for myself, as I always do. Some interesting features I want to show you that really do cater is, first of all, note there are air vents in the B pillar over here to give some air to the rear passengers. And note they even have their own fan control for those vents. I think that's quite a nice feature. And then down below there, if we can get the camera low enough, there's a 12-volt socket there as well for the middle row passengers. In today's world, such an important feature. Nice cloth cover on the seats, you can see that. 3 seats over here, very standard, headrests, etc. But of course, the crux of all these vehicles is access to the rear. So how does that work? Well, there's a lever on the side of the seat. I flip that lever, it does that, and then I tip the seat forward. So let me climb in and let's see what it's like. Again, there's not bad space for me for my feet over here. So I do that. Okay, fair enough. But now let's see the acid test. Once this seat is put back. The legroom is somewhat limited, I must be honest. But headroom is not bad at all. And I don't think we're going to get the camera to show it, but there is even an additional USB right at the back over here. That's a good touch. And also, for people right in the cheap seats, as I call them, there are 2 aircon vents up above. So they are catering for these extra passengers. And I think that is pretty important, that a vehicle of this type makes sure it caters for people in the extra seats that they provide. It's no use having extra seats that are totally uncomfortable or impractical. I would say these are for kids, not really for adults, but I suppose it's entirely up to you. I must say that I'm actually quite pleasantly surprised by this. It's done far more and far better than I expected, especially on the highway. I'm doing 120 right now, or just on, and it's sitting at 4,000 revs, which, if you think that this engine only puts out 50 kilowatts, 94 newton meters of torque, it's really a surprise, a very pleasant surprise. Yes, it's very, very boomy, as I think you can hear while I'm driving along. It's on a roughish surface as well, so take that into account and realize that it's not ideal, but this is the kind of stone just thrown at me by another vehicle on the highway. That's one of the risks you run permanently when you're on highway driving, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Hopefully not a big chip on the windscreen right now. But really, when you consider that this is a longish vehicle, can take 7, okay, I'm only 1 up at the moment, but it's always got to be in context of the vehicle, of the type of vehicle, and of the price category. And this does a far better job than I would have actually expected, quite honestly. And as I say, I'm quite pleasantly surprised. It is what it is. It's not massively powerful. There's no turbo, no nothing like that. Yet it certainly manages to keep up with the traffic on a freeway. And that's what you want, isn't it? And whether you're carrying 1, 2, up to 7 passengers, this is what this little Renault Triber can do. And does it, as I said, surprisingly well. Maybe lots of things. It does rev very high. At 120, it's at over 4,000 revs. But you live with it. And you live with what it is in its context. Overall, pleasantly surprised. From the driver's seat, you can see the instrumentation is very simple, very plain, but it tells you what you need. Now, to give you the important figures, 344.9 kilometers covered on this test. Again, I've got to press this button over here to move it. According to this, I've used 20 liters of fuel, and I've done 16.5 kilometers per liter. Just in a very quick mental calculation, that probably is just under 7 liters per 100. Not bad for a vehicle of this size. And I have to tell you, as you saw when we were on the road, when you're traveling on freeways at 120, you're doing 4,000 revs. So it's not exactly purring along at the lowest possible level. Keep that in mind. You have on the steering wheel, wow, 2 buttons on that side. That's for your phone and to mute the sound. And on this side, it's for your radio system, infotainment system over there. A couple of features now, let me mention again, that are specific to the Prestige model. Let's start off by, on the door down here, you get electric windows all round, front and rear, but you also get one touch, auto for the driver, which is a pretty good feature, up and down auto. So not bad at all over there. You also do get height adjustment for the driver's seat on the Prestige model. So I'm just giving you a couple of features that you get. Also on the Prestige model, you'll see this button over here is for the central locking. 2 points on that. Firstly, it does lock on pull-off. Well done. And secondly, it has the Renault key card, but it is a keyless entry system. So literally, as you approach the vehicle, it unlocks. So those are features you get on the Prestige. Now, of course, Prestige gives you the 8-inch touchscreen, or infotainment screen, shall we call it, which gives you full media, radio, etc. Phone works well. It does work with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I've used it extensively with Android Auto to use maps. Works very nicely, although I had the same strange anomaly on this car that I found on others, that when you're using maps, the radio doesn't work. I need to find out why. I mentioned it on a recent test, and it happened again on this car. I don't quite understand, but you've got the nice screen, I'll put it that. And of course, as I said earlier, when you put the 5-speed manual into reverse, you get the reverse camera with guidelines included on the reverse camera. I mentioned 5-speed manual transmission. It's of course light, click, click, cluck, cluck, nothing to it, nice and easy, and it's a very simple system, shall I say. Over here, you've got the push button start, which again is a feature exclusive to the Prestige version. You've got air conditioning, fairly effective. I've got no complaints about it. And down over there, you do have a USB for the driver. So those are all features that you do like. You even get cooling on the glove box on Prestige, which is again a feature that is good. And coming back to the screen, the eco driving mode is exclusive to the Prestige model and not on any of the others. And there you can see my average consumption, etc., etc. So there you go. It just shows. And my eco scoring, 71 out of 100. It tells me my gear shifting wasn't the best. But anyway, I'm not sure over what distance this applied. I didn't reset it when I got the car. So I'm going to say hopefully that was from someone else and not from me. Price-wise, obviously, that's what really counts in every car, doesn't it? And especially in this market. Well, you start off at 185,900 for the Expression version, 195,900 for the Dynamique, and 211,900 as we are here. I've given you a lot of the extra features you get. I left out one feature which may make a difference to a lot of buyers. That is, you get 2 front airbags on the 2 lower models. You get an additional 2 side airbags on Prestige. So your safety factor is increased and upped on this version. There are some features I like on the car. There's some I don't like, but that applies to all. One of the strange features is if you just swing to the steering wheel, is the car stationary with the engine running. I don't understand this play on the steering wheel. Little bit disconcerting. It's not a problem when you're on the road, but I just found that a little bit disconcerting or strange. And one of the others is if I close the door, it certainly sounds a little bit tinny, shall I say, but you've got to take into account the market segment and the price. What did surprise me was the ability, even at high revs, of this car to cruise at 120. And that actually was a very pleasant surprise. I can't comment how well it'll handle 7 people on board. I didn't get a chance to try that. But certainly with 1 or 2 on board, it can sit at the 120 mark, 4,000 revs, and it will sit there quite comfortably. So that's a good indication. I do think this is more a car for if you're going to carry a lot of people or a big load for around town more than actually hitting the open road. If you're going to hit the open road, I think maybe 4 passengers. But that's just an opinion, and I would hate to be shot down for my opinion over there. It's obviously at a price point. It's built to a price. You can see it. You can hear the plastic on the dash, although it's got the glossy sections to it. Interestingly, it's got 2 cubby holes, a top and even a bottom, which is again quite an interesting little thing. And there's a form of cooling in the lower one for keeping cold drinks, etc. So it's got all of those sort of things. And interesting and very neat is, of course, the 2-tone coloring on the dash, with the lower section and the lower parts of the door panels being in the cream color with a darker color on top. So there are a lot of little touches to make it look a lot neater and a bit more upmarket than that. But the bottom line is, what can you get in today's market for 185,000 Rand to 211,000 Rand adding all the extras I mentioned that there are between the models at this money in today's world and in today's market? And the answer is not very much. So if you're really budget constrained, but you need transport for more people, at this price bracket, you've got the Datsun Go Plus and this one, and for slightly more money, the Suzuki Ertiga. The others jump up a bit in price. So that's where you are sitting. And if this is what you need, you've got to check them out for yourself. For Motor Matters, I'm Eleanor. I'll see you next time.